Hi, ladies. Thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited to be here and to talk to all of you. So I am going to talk to you about how to balance your hormones and optimize your fertility. I'm going to give some of my top tips that I use with my clients in my private practice. So let's get into that. So, I'm going to go through this today, to kind of how to optimize, like I said, your fertility, your hormones, and just in a really holistic and integrative way. And these are things that your doctor and clinic maybe they aren't telling you. So make sure you have a pen and paper and take some notes. So who am I? So I am the CEO and program director of the Hormone Puzzle Society, and this is a company that I created, and it's a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and pregnancy. I created this after my own struggles with infertility and kind of getting on the other side of that and having my second baby when I was 40 years old, even though the doctors told me I probably couldn't do that naturally. I created something called the Hormone Puzzle Method. I'm a certified health, life, and wellness practitioner and coach. I'm a best-selling author. In the process of becoming a board-certified functional nutritionist, but I do have a Bachelor of Science in Nutrition, so I'm very versed in that. I am the host of the Hormone Puzzle podcast and a full-time mom. Like I said, I have two little ones that were created out of my infertility struggles, and they are now 5 and 8. So it's been quite the journey. Here's a couple pictures of my family, just so you guys can get to know me a little better. All right. And this is where you might have seen me. I've been in Oprah Magazine, Health and Wellness, Health and Fitness, Women's Health, tons and tons of, I've been on different summits and different things. All right, so who is this class for? So if you're trying to balance your hormones naturally, you want to avoid some pesky symptoms of hormone imbalance, maybe you have painful periods, you have terrible PMS, you have cramping, bloating, fatigue. All of these are signs that your body is telling you that something is wrong and that your hormones might be out of balance. And if you're trying to optimize your fertility naturally through diet and lifestyle, if you want to improve your egg quality, your uterine lining, you want to fight a fertility-related condition like PCOS, endometriosis, DOR, all of these things are things that you can actively improve. And I've seen it time and time again with my clients in private practice. And then if you're about to begin or you're in the process of an ART treatment, you're doing IVF, IUI, one of those. And then if you want to just take a more holistic, natural approach, these tips are for you. So in this class, I have this class as a longer class on my website. So I'm just going to hit a couple of highlights here today. But if you want to see the longer version, you can do that. It's at coachkayla.com on my website. So today we're going to talk about how to balance hormones, eliminate these symptoms while you can experience wonderful side effects, weight loss, increased energy, mental clarity, optimized and boosted fertility. And then we're going to talk about how to optimize your cycle for those pleasant periods, for the optimized fertility, happy hormones, hotter sex, and greater creativity, productivity, and well-being at work. And make sure you stay till the end of this because I'm going to give you an awesome gift. So you don't want to miss that. All right. So again, I created the Hormone Puzzle Method. You can learn more about that on my website. So we're not going to go into that today just because of the time. So we're going to get into my top 5 tips for optimizing your hormones and your fertility. All right. So my tip number 1 is to test, do not guess. And there's a couple of different things around this. The first thing is I always ask that my clients, and I'm telling all of you, make sure that you run some basic diagnostic tests before you start your fertility journey. And I know many of you are in the throes of it. Maybe you've been in it for years and years. But if you haven't had some basic testing done, which I see so many times people come to me and they've been trying for 3 years and they're in the middle of infertility, and then I ask if they've done these basic tests and they haven't. So you want to make sure that you've done some basic testing. So you want to do that with a practitioner like me or with your holistic doctor or somebody that's going to look at these tests holistically and integratively. And in the next slide, I'm going to go over some of the testing that I recommend. But for now, in this tip, the reason why you want to test with somebody like me or somebody that's integrative is we use dried urine versus blood. And what's different about dried urine is that it's going to give you a complete overview over 24 hours what your hormones are doing, and then also how your body's metabolizing these hormones. Many times I'll have clients that get tested through their doctors with blood. This will show a snapshot in time of what your hormones are doing right when they're tested. It's not going to show you a full picture of the 24-hour process they go through and how they're being metabolized. It's so important to see that, because I don't want to just see what your levels are. I want to know exactly how your body's using these hormones. And if there's an issue with your metabolism of them, then that can cause an issue with how your body's responding, what symptoms your body's throwing. If you're struggling with infertility, it can be one of these hormonal issues that maybe your body's not metabolizing a certain hormone appropriately, so it's causing these issues. Then you also want to test daily, throughout your cycle with something like Mira. It is so important to know, especially those three main hormones that Mira tests: your estrogen, your progesterone, your LH. Again, I have so many clients that will come in and they'll say, I got my hormones tested at my doctor. They were fine. We've been actively having sex. We're trying to get pregnant. It hasn't happened. But then when we look down, they're not planning their intercourse appropriately. They're having sex at the wrong times, or maybe they're having issues with low progesterone that they don't realize. Their LH is off. Something's going on and they don't know because they're not testing. So definitely I recommend Mira. They are a wonderful, wonderful thing to test with. So testing daily and monthly, and then getting an overview, at least every 6 months to a year of what your hormones are doing. And again, I'm going to talk more about what those specific hormones are in a minute. And then testing with your doctor, having an anatomy scan, having your uterus looked at, your fallopian tubes, having an HSG, making sure your tubes are open and clear, making sure your ovaries are the right size and, they're operating appropriately, but really looking at that full anatomy scan. Again, I cannot tell you how many people have been trying to get pregnant and they haven't had an anatomy scan. They haven't had an HSG. They don't even know if their tubes are open or not. So that is super important to all of this. Test, do not guess. So you know exactly where you're at and you don't have to worry if something's wrong there. And then what tests do you run? So monthly, definitely through Mira, you want to be testing that estrogen, that LH, that progesterone. And then about every 6 months to a year, you want to do a full hormone panel. And again, I do that through dried urine at home. You can do this through your doctor with blood, but just know that it is a snapshot in time. And then sometimes too, you have to ask your doctor. They're not, if you say I want to have a full hormone panel run, sometimes they'll just do the basics and they're not doing the full thing. So you want estrogen, you want all 3 estrogens run, you want your progesterone at the right time in your cycle. Around day 21 is when you want your progesterone run. The rest of this is around day 3 of your cycle. You want a full testosterone done. You want cortisol. That's another one where I see clients haven't had their cortisol tested. And if your cortisol is low or high, that's an issue. It can cause fertility issues. It can cause, overall stress response issues. Organic acids, that's another one that needs to be tested to see if you have any toxicities in your body, if your gut health is off, if something like that. Food sensitivities. This is another one I see where somebody will be eating super healthy, but we do a food sensitivity test. They learn they are sensitive to certain food that they eat all the time that they think is super healthy, which is causing gut issues, which is causing nutrient deficiencies, which is causing all kinds of issues with hormones. Candida testing, celiac disease, full or celiac testing, full thyroid. This is another one I see where a client will say, I'm having these issues. I'm having certain symptoms. I'm really tired all the time. I have weight I'm trying to lose and can't. And so I'll say, have you had your thyroid tested? And they'll say yes, but usually they'll just have their TSH tested and not a full thyroid. So you want T4, T3, reverse T4, free T3 and T4, even thyroid antibodies, just to make sure that your thyroid isn't attacking itself. And then vitamin D. 80% of the population is deficient in vitamin D, and this is a main fertility vitamin that you need. So if you're vitamin D deficient, that can be causing some issues. So Again, testing instead of guessing and just knowing exactly where you're at will give you a better handle on what you need to fix so you can get to that root cause, you can heal that root cause, and then your symptoms can go away and your body can perform the way that it should. So tip number 2, track your cycle. I cannot tell you how many people I talk to that don't track things. You want to be tracking your cycle on a monthly basis. You want to know how long your cycle is. You want to know your period. Your period is your body's report card. I think I said that earlier. You want to look at how long is it? What is the consistency of the blood flow? What is the color? What is the are you having any symptoms? You want to make sure that, if your body's throwing a lot of symptoms, this is your body telling you something's wrong. So tracking that and knowing that and paying attention to it will allow you to be able to heal what's going on and to fix it. And then tracking your fertile signs, tracking your cervical mucus, tracking your BBT, even tracking the shape and positioning of your cervix is important. It will tell you when you're super fertile, when it's time to have planned intercourse. It'll tell you if you are ovulating or not. So making sure that you're tracking and you really know what's going on with your body each month is super important. And another thing, excuse me, that I didn't put on this slide, but that's super important to track is your bowel movements. Are you pooping every day, at least once a day? What is the color, consistency? Are you constipated? Do you have diarrhea? Like, all of that can tell you what your gut is doing and how healthy your gut is. And if you are having these symptoms of, your gut being off, then what is off? Are you having dysbiosis? Are you having, is there a parasite or mold or something in that gut that's causing issues? Are you having permeability issues? Do you have a leaky gut? So tracking is so important so you can see, okay, something is going on. My body's trying to tell me something. This is what needs to be fixed, and this is what I need to focus on. So tip number 3, and I know you guys just had an expert talk on nutrition, so I'm not going to go into this deep, but I thought it was important to mention because nutrition is so very important to your overall hormonal health, to your fertility health, and to your overall health in general. So eating proper whole food balanced nutrition is so very important. And you want to really be looking at eating foods that give you energy, not that take energy away, and foods that work with your body. Bio-individuality is so very important when it comes to food. It's about more than just eating healthy. It's eating the foods that are right for you, for your body, for your fertility. And doing some food sensitivity testing will allow you to see what foods actually work for you. You can also just do an elimination diet, taking out any food that causes inflammation, putting in whole food nutrition, and then reintroducing foods that you think you might have an issue with to see if you actually do, and then making an educated guess if you want those foods in your diet or not. Sometimes people are like, I love cheese, I'm a little sensitive to it, but I'm never giving up my cheese, and that's okay. You can still have it, but that's your choice to make that informed decision once you know how it affects your body. So tip number 4, we're going to talk about how you can begin to optimize your cycle for your pleasant periods, happy hormones, hotter sex, and greater creativity, productivity, and well-being at work. And then tip number 5, how to implement the hormone puzzle method and see how it's helped thousands of women get pregnant and how it can help you too. So we're going to dive into those tips a little bit more. So again, proper whole food nutrition. I'm just going to hit this briefly. I know you had one on nutrition earlier, but my philosophy around nutrition is I do something called the magic plate. This is a way for you not to have to count calories or macros. You just break your plate up into these 3 portions, and it allows you to get that balanced whole food nutrition. Then you'll also want to be sprinkling in the cycle optimizing foods that we're going to talk about in a minute, and making sure you're eating foods that you're not sensitive to. So I'm going to go through this really quickly. So it's a third protein that's high quality protein. It can be animal or plants. I'm not here to change your mind if you're a vegetarian or vegan, but my recommendation is that you need some sort of animal protein so that you can get all the iron you need. If you are a vegetarian or vegan, definitely supplement with an iron supplement because your body needs iron. It needs iron for fertility. And if you are low in iron, it's going to cause an issue. And the best source of heme iron, which is the most highly absorbable iron, is through animal protein. But again, if you're a vegetarian or vegan, that's okay. Just make sure you're getting some sort of supplementation for your iron and making sure you're getting your iron levels checked to make sure there's not a deficiency. And then a third nutrient dense starchy vegetable or grain. This is going to be your root vegetables, your sweet potatoes, squash, pumpkin, eggplant, those types of things, or a slow burning grain, which would be your brown rice, quinoa, buckwheat, arrowroot, those types of things. And then vegetables. Fill a third of your plate with vegetables, leafy greens, all the colors of the rainbow, and then 1 to 2 tablespoons of a good quality fat. Avocados, olives, nuts and seeds, oil, olive oil, coconut oil, those types of low inflammatory oils. All right. Oh, and I forgot to say, I'm going to give you an action step around each of these. So your action step around this is pick one meal today and start to make it a magic plate meal. All right, so cycle optimizing. So this is also called cycle syncing, but for here, we're going to call it cycle optimizing. And this is a functional medicine concept. It's where a woman partners her food, fitness, work life, and social life with the 4 phases of her monthly cycle so she can create homeostasis in the body, which is balance. Everything is balance. It's getting all the food and raw materials that it needs to work appropriately. All right, so phase 1, this is going to be, we're breaking our cycle into 4 phases. Again, this is where tracking is really important. You need to know what phase you're in. You need to know how long that phase is and really keep track of that on a monthly basis. So phase 1 is your menstruation. This is your bleed. This is usually, and for the purposes of today, I'm talking about a 28-day cycle. I know some of you have longer, some of you have shorter. The average cycle is 25 to 35 days, but just depending on you, you're a bio individual, will depend on how long your cycle is. But for today, the purposes of these days, we're going to do 28 days. So day 1 through 5 is usually your bleed. That's your period. This is when your estrogen and progesterone are pretty low. So you'll notice your energy is a little low during your period. This is when the lining of your endometrium is starting to shed. This is when you're bleeding. So your food for this time in your cycle needs to really be focused on warmth, on comfort foods. We want warming foods so we can allow our blood to flow. It's not going to congeal and get stagnant. It's going to just be really oxygenated and flowing the way that it should. Think animal protein, healthy root vegetables, healthy fats, filtered water, iron-rich foods, iodine-rich foods. So that would be like your eggs, your seafood, even some kelp or sea vegetables. If you have an issue with thyroid, you need to be really careful with iodine. So again, if you're testing, you would know about that. And then pay attention to your exercise and your energy and exercise appropriately. So this would be your energy is probably low, so it's okay to cut back. You can do those low, gentle, restorative movements, yoga, walking, tai chi, stretching, those types of things. Deep breathing even is wonderful during your period. So your action step around this is just to take care of yourself, practice self-care, and really nurture yourself during your period and allow yourself time for rest and relaxation. So the next phase is phase 2. This is your follicular phase. This is when you're growing those follicles and getting ready for that egg to burst out. And so this is days 6 through 14. This is when your estrogen and progesterone are starting to rise. You'll notice your energy is starting to rise as well. This is when food last week were more warming foods. This week is more cooling foods. So think salad, raw vegetables. Get as many nutrients as you can during follicular phase to really nurture and give as many vitamins and minerals to those follicles as possible. Also, some probiotics are really important during during this phase. They're important all month, but definitely during follicular phase. If you're taking a probiotic, that's great. I could do a whole class on probiotics, but for our time here, make sure you're taking the right probiotic for for what you need, what bacteria you need in your gut specifically. Again, you can learn that through testing. And then adding in some fermented foods, some sauerkraut, some kimchi, some kombucha, those types of fermented foods. You have to make sure you're careful with fermented foods. You can overdo it with them. So you want to make sure that you're eating, about a fourth to a half a cup of the food, or if it's a drink, about 4 ounces. And then this time of the month, your energy is starting to rise. So you can do those harder workouts. You like to be social during this time. So you can do like the HIIT classes, the spin classes that have loud music and that have a lot of people are not going to be too overstimulating for you. So your action step around this is to try out a new workout, try out a new class, even if it's over, on YouTube at home. Try something new and have fun with it. All right, phase 3 is ovulation. So this is day 15 through 17. This is when your estrogen's at its peak. Your testosterone and progesterone are also rising. This is when you're in your summer phase. So again, you're going to be eating light, fresh, colorful foods. Think antioxidants. You want to protect those eggs from free radicals. So when that egg busts out of that follicle, you want to make sure it's not destroyed from free radicals. So things that are high in antioxidants, think dark colored vegetables, leafy greens, cherries, blueberries. The darker the fruit or vegetable, the more antioxidants it has. Also high fiber foods, so whole grains, again, leafy vegetables, nuts and seeds. You're your most charismatic during your ovulation, so it's a great time to do a presentation, go on a date, film a webinar, just really be seen and heard and use your voice. So your action step around ovulation is to get dressed up, go on a date with your man, or maybe go on a girls' night out and just have fun and be seen and heard and use that feminine energy for what it's made for. All right, and then the 4th phase is luteal. So this is your day 18 through 28. This is when your estrogen and progesterone levels are still high the first week of your luteal phase, and then they're going to start to come down that second week. That's why usually the week after ovulation, your energy is still high, but then as those hormones come down into the second week, the week before your period, your energy will be a lot lower and you'll start to really come back into yourself and want to do more low, gentle things. If the egg isn't fertilized, this is when your hormones really decrease and your menstruation starts that following week. So during this phase, you're really going to want to focus on giving your body what it needs. You want to focus on detox-friendly foods so that you're removing these hormones out of your system and they're not recirculating. So that would be things like onions, fennel, garlic, again, high fiber foods, so your nuts and seeds, your leafy greens, even some detox-friendly teas like a dandelion root tea. You want to do things to help your liver metabolize these hormones and get them out of your body. Also doing non-food activities to help with detox, fertility massage on the liver, dry brushing, sitting in a sauna or steam room if you are not pregnant. And then your productivity, like I said, it's high the first week. The next week it starts to come down. So really listening to that. Your right and your left brain are super aligned during these 2 weeks. So doing things that you need a lot of attention for, maybe a big project at work, maybe a big cleaning project at your house, maybe you're writing a book or you need to really focus on something for a long period of time. So luteal is the best time to do that. So your action step around this is to tackle your to-do list. Maybe you clean your pantry, your closet, your car, and really get some of that stuff done. All right, because you stayed till the end, I want to gift you with one of my cycle syncing schedulers and journal book. So this is a $35.99 value on my website. I'm going to gift you the digital download. So this is actually a schedule book where you can start to track your cycle. You can use it as a journal. There's motivating quotes each month or each week. There is all different things for you to track your cycle. So you start to learn that and you get all the amazing benefits that we discussed here today. And I would also love to invite any of you to book a call with me. You can do this on my website. If you need a little help, if you want to say, this is what I'm struggling with, what does this mean? How can you help me? I'm here for you ladies. So please book that call. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. I want to let you know that, you are your own advocate. Do not give up on this fertility journey. If your goal is to be a mom, do whatever it takes to make that happen, because it will eventually happen. You have to believe that inside yourself, and you have to proactively do these things that we discussed here today. So thank you all for watching.